Greetings and salutations. This is Abdelhadi with The Bitter Truth, where we may not have all the answers, but we're going to ask an awful lot of questions. You can also become a bitter pill or a spoonful of sugar by visiting patreon.com/The Bitter Truth. If you like the show and like what you've been hearing for the last year plus, feel free to be a member. And as always, you could listen to us on Spotify and iTunes and all of the usual suspects. Today, we have a guest that I love, the type of guest I love getting. Someone who actually is running for office, putting his boots on the ground. A gentleman named Mauro Garza, and he's running for Congress in the 20th District in Texas against Joaquin Castro, and to not be confused with his twin brother, who's identical, Julian Castro, who's running for president. Joaquin is a sitting congressman, and he's the other brother in Texas. Sometimes people, last night I was talking to somebody, and they said, oh, is he not going to run for president anymore? I said, no, that's the other guy. So, Mauro, are you there?
Yes, Abe, I'm right here. Thank you.
Awesome. So let's jump into it, man. Okay, so you're sort of like a unicorn. Okay, let's just call it for what it is. I mean, you're a gay Latino man running on the Republican ticket for Congress.
Yes, I'm a Jewish, gay, Latino, Hispanic. Actually, I prefer the word. Running for U.S. Congress in District 20 here in San Antonio, Texas. Wait,
you are Jewish too?
I am.
That's hilarious.
I know.
I couldn't make this up. This is awesome. So, okay, so talk to me though, because you don't have the nomination sewn up yet, correct? I mean, is Dominic Dina?
That's correct.
Okay,
that's correct. The primary will be in March of 2020, of course.
Okay, that's the primary. Election day, obviously, is November 5th, like for everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yep. So you're running against Joaquin Castro, who's the identical twin brother of Julian Castro, running for president. What obviously you're running because you believe there's a reason. What are some of your challenges with Joaquin Castro that makes you want to run for president or Congress? I'm sorry.
Well, some of the challenges will be to sort of just reach the constituents and explain to them that at this time they'll have a choice. Joaquin Castro has already proven to be an ineffective leader, basically a follower. And so what we need in our district 20 is someone with who can be authentic and have authentic leadership, someone who can actually stand for Texas values, security, fiscal responsibility, those kinds of things. I'm a business owner, so one of the things that I think a lot about is this socialism that's creeping up, particularly here in San Antonio. I sort of am sounding the alarm. You know how Houston, we have a problem. Well, San Antonio, we have a problem, and that's socialism that's creeping up, and we need to really, really start looking at that. As a business owner, I want to be sure that my son can chase the American dream, and future generations and of everyone, Americans, can chase the American dream. We won't be able to do that with people that are sort of socialistic or like to protest businesses, for example. Joaquin Castro, I don't know if you heard of this, but he put out a list of people. And what that did is it seems like he wanted people to be either threatened or he doxed people or boycott the businesses. It was basically a list of businesses that support Donald Trump, and he put that out.
Okay, and when you say doxing, he mean you put out a list of businesses, or he doxed these people's home addresses and phone numbers? That's a big difference.
Yeah, he put out a list. Like, for example, Bill Miller's. Everyone knows Bill Miller's was on the list. Phyllis Browning, just people that are local businesses that had employ so many people, his own constituents.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so he, what was the point of that? That to me is so anti-business, very socialistic.
Okay, but back up. What when you say socialistic, this is where I gotta take umbrage a little bit and get your clarification,
Sure.
Because the airport is socialist. Okay, the government owns the airport and they rent it out to United, they rent it out to Salt Lake or whoever else. That's a socialist construct. So when you say socialist, what are you talking about exactly?
This is what I'm talking about. I'm just worried that we'll turn into something like Venezuela. I'm talking about the government.
But you're not worried about us turning into Colombia, though, right?
Well, I'd have to research that.
Let me throw a couple things out your way, because every Republican I ever talked to,
go ahead.
They go
absolutely. No, this is good.
Every Republican I ever speak with goes right to Venezuela. Forget the so-called democratic socialist countries in Europe. They go to Venezuela, which before the last round of sanctions, there's 105 against them right now. They had a 4% poverty rate. Colombia has a 30% poverty rate, but they call themselves capitalists, and it's okay. They actually rig elections. They kill campesinos by the thousands. They murder journalists, right? But because they say they're capitalists, we made them a NATO associate, and it's okay. When Venezuela had 50% of the population starving in the 80s, nobody cared because they said they were capitalist. So when we say socialists like Venezuela, you mean like the free housing that Chavez and Maduro actually built for poor people so that they weren't homeless anymore and they actually had jobs? What do you mean by socialist, and why is that bad?
Okay. What I mean by that is basically when I say socialist, to me that's anti-business, because I'm a business owner. That's the angle I'm coming in.
Right.
A socialist, the way I see socialists is, for example, the government not only just owning the airports, but owning all the health care, and they, so that people, like business people themselves, the small business to me is the engine in this country. And what I think the government needs to do is make the field fertile for small businesses to be able to come up.
Yeah, but Aetna's not a small business. But Aetna's not a small business. Citibank is not a small business, yet they get government subsidies up the ass.
There is the other end of that spectrum that needs to be looked at. There's the other opposite end too. I mean, it has to be.
It needs to be dismantled. It needs to be dismantled. Like look at banking, for example. Okay, that's the most egregious example I can think of in the last decade, where we gave them $2 trillion. They still paid out bonuses. We loaned them $26 trillion at zero interest to loan back to us.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And then we still give them $85 billion a year for for over 11 years now. So, like, how is that not socialism for the rich and capitalism for the rest of us?
I agree. That's so. I don't want that to continue further. I need it to go in reverse.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about when I mean about not going further that way, the way you're talking, all these things that are socialist. We need to have them come in reverse, and we need the government to make the field make it fertile for businesses, small and big, to be able to grow, not to be in business. Don't want the government to do business. I need them to make it easier for someone, for example, to get a loan or no interest loan, to create a small business, be able to free enterprise, be able to compete in the market, be able to offer jobs and things of that nature.
And you're in Pegasus, if I'm not mistaken, it is the largest gay club in San Antonio. It's been around for 25 years, correct? You own that club.
That's right.
Okay.
It's also, I think it's the 10th most popular LGBT club in the entire United States, for sure.
Okay. And so
no other club in Texas is even that close to being in that category.
And how do you find the environment to run a business in San Antonio, much less a business such as yours?
Well, that's one of my businesses. Business owner. I have another, but that business. I have amazing staff, general managers and assistant general managers, and they're able to do the day-to-day. I simply look at the overall picture, and so that frees up some time.
Okay.
It's a good question.
Well, let me ask you, so part of your platform, because, I mean, I'm not, I don't know if you figured this out, I'm not a Democrat either.
I know.
Yeah, but I mean, part of your platform, what is it going to include other than Joaquin's a socialist? Because honestly, he's not. He's a corporate Dem. He's Hillary Clinton. He's Nara Tanden. He's all those people. He's not on the left. Even Bernie's not on the left. He's not on the left at all. And
usually, Abe, that's a great question. Okay.
Yeah.
Because when I talk about the left, I really am, and if I talk about the worst part of it, I look at the radical progressives. I don't say Democrats are this, Democrats are that. No, I've got friends that are great Democrats. I what we need to also do is create a level of communication and civility in having horizontal conversations. But when I talk about when I talk about that part of socialism, Abe, I'm talking about the radical progressives. It seems to me that type of end game is going to lead to less free enterprise, less capitalism, and I happen to think that capitalism is one of the compassionate ways to survive.
Okay, listen, dude. Okay, listen. Okay, first of all, let's get a definition. What do you define as the radical left? Because I got a feeling I'm not as radical as the radical left you think exists. When you say radical left, what do you mean by the radical left?
Okay, let me give you a couple examples. First of all, it's their game. The radical progressives are this: victim oppressor. I'm the oppressor. They're the victim. They're about race baiting. Donald Trump's a racist. You know, and,
well, he is.
And
that's not a big secret. He is.
Well, I mean.
But continue. I'm sorry, but he is.
I can't believe that he is. I mean, I think he has said some things that look like they might be racist, but you know, I don't know the man personally, so I mean, what he says sometimes is easy to take like that. So I mean, you know.
Well, because it is like that. If
how is it?
Because if I call a Hispanic person a wetback, it's not hard to figure out where my sentiments lie, right? I'm not warm and fuzzy and cuddling and inviting them into my home if I use that kind of language with somebody. Yeah, to tell. I mean, I'm not a fan of the fraud squad, but to tell 3 out of 4 American-born brown and black women to go back to the shithole countries you came from, or whatever his thing was, go back where you came from.
That's right. That kind of rhetoric. Yeah.
We don't need that.
I see where you're coming from.
That's
no, we don't. We don't. I agree. Yeah, totally agree with that.
But continue though. When you say progressive, when you say radical left, what race baiting, victimization?
The radical progressives. It's kind of okay. The radical progressives are they're going to use race baiting, identity politics, confirmation bias. They're not going to want, the radical progressives do not want to have a conversation. It's their way or the highway. And that's what bothers me. Because it's kind of like we should be able to have horizontal conversations and discuss these things.
Sure. No, I
but the same Abe could probably be set up at the very, very far right, of course, you know? But that's the problem is we need that middle communication, civility again. We need to be able to discuss things so that we can actually make some decisions and set some goals for all the issues we have in front of us.
Well, we got to. Here's where I take umbrage with the great god capitalism. We want to still ascribe governmental powers to business. You know, it would take away all the rules and get rid of the EPA, and then they can run unencumbered and be profitable. Well, bullshit. They've shown us that they don't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
we gave AT&T a massive tax break last year to create 7,000 jobs. They just laid off 23,000 people. GE just froze 20,000 pensions. You know, and then to blame the union. I'm not going to sit there and act like the AFL-CIO or SEIU are saints, but to go ahead and blame the union and say, well, they're leaving the country because of the unions. No, they're leaving the country because they got to pay some knothead at General Motors $22 million a year. She doesn't deserve $22 million a year. She doesn't deserve $22 million. Yeah, you got all these C-level guys making multi-7-figure incomes. They're employees. So you run a business. You are a business owner. Pegasus is a business you created, is it not?
What? I'm sorry.
Pegasus is a business that you created, yes?
Yes, it's a company.
Okay, it's a company that you created. You put your heart, blood, sweat, and tears. You're not Jamie Dimon, man, right? You're not Lloyd Blankfein. You're not some employee who's getting paid way more than they're worth and way more than they could even spend, while their lower of the lowest are being paid jack. And that's capitalism. That's what we do. We allow these guys to ship their jobs overseas and pay zero taxes. You pay tax. I know you pay tax. You're not Amazon. You pay tax.
Right. Yeah, there's a big need there as far as the actual. That's why we need communication on this. We need to be able to look at these erroneous and just way unethical, actually.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what comes to mind here is maybe business ethics. You know, we need to actually figure out, you know, it's like we say, oh, no monopoly, but, you know, that's one of the problems.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we need to put all these issues. This is why it's important to have communication. We need to have those issues put up. Those are good issues, and I agree with you.
See, but when you say concerns about the left, I mean, I would consider myself not a Democrat. I would consider myself an independent. I would consider myself very much on the left, and possibly we've never tried socialism in the world. You know, the communist Russia was not a socialist country; it was a capitalist dictatorship with a government that was the company, and they dictated they basically had right to work in Russia for years and years and years. Nobody made what they were worth because the Russian government said so. That's how that went. That wasn't like socialism. So when I talk about like socialism, I'm not talking about come in and take your stuff. I'm talking about creating.
Well, the reason that to me that kind of sounds a little bit like socialism is because it seems like it's the government controlling the whole population as far as work. They're collecting all the money and they're distributing it out. That's to me. I don't know if any. See,
but and I agree with you on that concept. But I don't know of anybody on the left that's talking about taking all the money and distributing it out. Do you know what I mean? It's like we pay taxes anyway, and so for example, Medicare.
Oh no.
Go ahead.
Okay. No, Abe, that hasn't happened. The fear is, I don't want it to happen.
But I don't know anybody on the left that's talking about that.
I don't want the government to be the one to say, you work here, you work there, you work there. You can run this company, but that's our money. In a way, it kind of seems like that's the way it is anyway. That's our money, and then we'll distribute it as we see fit.
Let me throw something your way. Let me put a bug in your bonnet. So, like, think about this for a hot minute, okay? This is honestly what I believe, and most of it comes out of vengeance. So, anybody that's taken government money in forms of a subsidy, or you took a bailout, I believe we should own you. Mm-hmm. I believe we should nationalize the banks. I believe instead of taking $26 trillion at zero interest, the government should loan it to its people. That's our money. You know, the internet was invented by the internet was invented by the Pentagon. The GPS was invented by the Pentagon. Satellites were invented by defense in the Pentagon. And then we go ahead and license it back to these companies, and then they charge us an arm and a leg. Where's my cut? Where's your cut? That's what I'm talking about.
It was created with our tax dollars.
Our tax dollars funded that. That's what when I'm talking about. And this is most people. This isn't me just being a unique person. Mm-hmm. This is most people I know that are on the so-called left, right? So when you talk about taking the money and distributing it, you know, I'm not talking about somebody coming into your businesses because you own multiple businesses and taking your stuff and then distributing it. I'm talking about something where you have a situation where it's at least monitored. Where if you did take a tax break or you paid zero taxes to create jobs, the government, our taxpayer dollars, we demand a refund. If we gave AT&T a massive tax break, making their tax rate lower than their secretary.
Oh, yeah.
Do you see what I mean? This is what I'm talking. This is what most of us are talking.
You know, one example I'll give you where I'm on your side in that is that bailout with like Bank of America and all that stuff. Oh my God.
Yeah. We let 5.1. We let 5.1 million.
That turns my stomach. So we're on the same page on that.
We let 5.1 million homeowners, and with the same money, we could have bailed out those homeowners, and let the banks fail and go back to the dark ages with federal credit unions and everything else. And the banks that survive, and the ones that don't. Mm-hmm. AIG. I mean, these guys made mistakes knowing full well, crimes knowing full well that they're going to get bailed out by the government. You know, and to give you an example of how egregious both parties can be, you know, because your side does this too. When HSBC when HSBC cut their deal in 2012 with the Obama administration, Eric Holder gave them a 5-year deferred prosecution. Right, 5 years later, the AG at that time had a choice in December 2017, had a choice to either prosecute HSBC or honor the deferred prosecution and just let the whole thing go. And who was the top cop in the country at that time? It was Jeff Sessions. I can't think of anybody more opposite of the Obama administration than Jeffrey Beauregard Sessions, who does not like Obama, who does not like Eric Holder, but yet he upheld the HSBC deferred prosecution agreement. What does that tell me? That tells me
so that's not to prosecute, right?
Yeah, and then HSBC, they got off scot-free a couple of years back. They're done. You can never go back to them and retry them for anything. And they made a deal, and they paid a $15 billion fine, which was not even 10% of their profits over the previous 2 years. That was their fine, a speeding ticket, with a bunch of employees, by the way, not Mauro Garza, the business owner, who if you violate some zoning violation or some sewage deal, San Antonio comes down on you, and you got to pay a fine, right? You own the business, so you feel it because it's your money. Now, these were employees. They still got their bonuses, they still got their benefits, they still got their salaries, right? And meanwhile, the American taxpayer takes the brunt of that crap. The banking thing. This is why I wanted to get a definition. When you say socialism, when you say the
gotcha. Hey, well considered. It's true. Yeah. No, I got you. Yeah.
So your platform against. Okay.
Granted, Abe, the capitalistic model needs a big enema. Don't get me wrong, but we do need to work towards achieving how we want these situations to be resolved.
Right.
And we all have to come with a plan.
Mm-hmm.
We can't come up with that plan if we don't have a horizontal conversations.
Oh, and I agree with you, but see, this is what I see on both sides. This is what I see. With Hillary Clinton, or the so-called corporate Democrats, and then this is what I see with Mitch McConnell. The only horizontal conversation they want to have is, no, we're going to get this done our way, and fuck you guys. That's what they do. And
it's total cognitive dissonance.
Okay.
There.
Okay.
And so what we need is someone who may have. One thing that I see is the skills that I would bring, is basically as a business owner, I will bring skills that mean, let's set some goals, let's make a plan, and let's do a short range, medium range, long term. The plan is, let's say it's a 10-year plan. How do you want this to look like when these banks do this to the people? What are we going to do? How are we going to solve that? What about when there's a monopoly? What are we going to do there? But this requires a plan, and the problem is we have to work towards that type of collaboration.
Okay.
And I intend to go in there and explain to folks, almost seeming like as a consultant, this is how we make progress. This is how people make plans. If you think about it, Abe, all the problems we have, regardless to whatever area you're looking at, if you just take it to your home, you have a door, you have windows, you have a yard, some people have a fence. Every single problem we have, if we take it to our home, say budget, you're not going to be spending more than you can, or you won't have the lights turned on, or you won't eat tomorrow. Just people have lost track of the basics of problem-solving skills, actually, to be honest with you. And perhaps this has occurred because of the history of politics. It was basically power. I think most people in there right now are they're power-related. Power. Oh, you want to vote for this congressman, this senator. He'll bring money to our district. Well, guess what, Abe? There's no more money.
Oh, no. There is money. We just approved a $1.4 trillion budget for defense. We occupy 149 countries right now, with 73% of the world's dictators supported by us. So there is money.
There's no money. There's no money to promise people, hey, if I get elected, I'm going to bring more money over here, because there's no money. They're not using money for infrastructure.
Whoever your campaign manager is, hire me. This is what you do. You go in there and you tell the people, want to educate some folks. You tell them we're going to knock down the $1.4 trillion defense budget, knock it down to $400 billion. We still outspend the Russians by 5 times and the Chinese by 3 times. And we're going to start rebuilding infrastructure at home and giving jobs to people at home. FDR had a jobs program, lasted almost 20 years, and we actually created skilled workers that went right into the union workforce and worked at GM, and they worked at GE. I grew up in Southgate, California, with a ton of factory jobs until the late 70s, early 80s. And those guys they all came out of either the jobs program or the Army. And they had union jobs when the minimum wage was $1.10. They were making $9 an hour. They rented apartments for my father. So it's just like, this is what I'm talking about. There is money there. We're spending 70 cents on the dollar for defense to do what? We're in 8 wars right now, thanks to Barack Obama and George Bush. And for what? Nobody can tell me why we're in those wars.
True.
And it's for money. It's for oil. We're going to go into Venezuela and Iran. As soon as I heard that Venezuela had the largest deposits of oil in the world about 8 or 9 years ago, when everyone was like freaking out about Chavez, I go, what the hell? What do you care? I found out they had oil. We're going to have to give them some democracy then, because they got oil, you know. And when Chavez kicked them out in the late 90s, those guys have been fuming ever since. And nobody gave a shit about starving people in Venezuela in the 80s when the oil was sold to us for 2 cents a pound and enslaving their people for 15 cents a day and no bathroom breaks. So this is what I'm saying. When you say there's no money, I understand, but there's no money because we misspend our money. We're the richest country in the history of the world, and yet the Chinese are kicking our ass right now. You know why? They don't have bases all over every fucking place on Earth. They only have 2 bases outside of China. We're in 149 countries. We have 1,200 bases. It's amazing.
So, yeah. We don't budget appropriately. How about that?
Yeah, and you know why? Because the corporations own our government. They own our media. When Clinton passed the Communications Act in 1996, he made sure that the antitrust laws didn't apply to them. That's why we have 5 companies owning every piece of media that you and I see.
Wow.
That's what do you think Raytheon is advertising on MSDNC? You think Rachel Maddow, like making $7 million a year? You think that comes out of the sky? My mother doesn't need an F-35 or an F-16. Why is Raytheon or Baker or any of those guys advertising on CNN or Fox News? The debates were all advertised by pharmaceuticals, and Bernie's bitching at the pharmaceutical companies, and Anderson Cooper's like, I know what you're talking about. I mean, because they're on the take. It's one big gangbang, and we're not in it, man. You know, so like when you talk about your platform against Castro, first of all, I don't see him as much of a socialist, but you know, when you talk about the horizontal conversation, I get that, but it's a paid conversation. You're in a party, by the way, that is as corporate owned as anybody. So what do you intend to do as one person running against 2 more in the primaries? Because your primary is in March. Are you guys going to have debates?
I hope so.
Okay.
I probably will invite the other fellows that are running in the primary for a debate.
Now these other 2 guys.
I probably would like to have 2 of them, actually.
Are these 2 guys career politicians, or are they like yourself, business owner who sees that change is necessary?
No, I think one is was in real estate. It was in the Air Force, I believe, and another, Anita Kegley. I think she was maybe had a construction business at one point.
Okay.
I don't know more about her. And then Joshua was my ex-campaign manager. So he just decided to, hey, I'm going to run against you. So. Oh,
that's weird. Okay.
So,
okay, so when I was doing some, before I did a little research digging on this before we got on the air today, I didn't know there was other, I just thought it was this Dan and Dominic guys that were running against you. There's Joshua and now another woman, Anita's running too in the primaries?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you know, it's not until November 9th, I believe. It's through December 9th or so.
They got to register.
Where we would, we'd submit our to be on the ballot.
Okay. Well, let me ask you. So as far as your platform with Castro, because obviously it doesn't seem like Castro has done much for the district other than what has he done for what has he done for the district besides obviously be congressman for 3 or 4 terms now?
Nothing.
So he hasn't brought money back to the district.
No.
Okay. So
one of the things that I'm doing, and I've been out on the on the streets and on the houses, knocking on doors, and I'm out with the community, and I'm getting all the feedback, information like that, and because our problems, the solutions are with the community. Mm-hmm. To me, it's about community, and so I gather so much from that, and even people I talk to, they're like, "Oh God, we have a choice this time." One of the things is that I don't think he was contested last time, so he just, he doesn't need to campaign or anything, I guess, but now he will, because somebody will be
actively
trying to,
So he ran unopposed last time, you're saying?
I believe so.
Mm-hmm.
And then one time, I believe one of those elections was a Libertarian maybe candidate.
Okay.
So there, so he, so he's been pretty safe there.
Okay.
But he's like, he's just a follower. I can't think of any laws, anything. I mean, he just doesn't have a record of doing anything.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, I mean, and this is the thing that, I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a huge fan. I'm not a huge fan of his brother. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't think I'm voting for any Democrat this cycle. Maybe in the primaries, if for some infinitesimal reason, Tulsi Gabbard gets, further down the peg, but she won't. They're already coming after her.
No.
And she's got,
like her.
and she's got war issues too. I'm pretty much against anybody that voted for the wars. And, she had no problem getting into Syria or being cool with Syria when Obama was doing it. And this is the other part I hate about both parties is when your side does it, it's okay. When their side does it, it's not okay. Like the Democrats like to point out that Mitch McConnell's worth all this money. And I'm like, okay, great. But Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer were worth all that money too. So why is it right when your side does it? It's not right. If it's not right, it's not right.
Not right. It's just not right. It's not right.
Right. And that's kind of, and this is
nothing around that. We have to really, really, bring that out. We need to out that. We need to say, hey, these are the issues and how we got to change this system because the system should be leadership. We need to go in there really altruistic. We really want positive changes, not for whatever reasons of power that people are still running for and things of that nature. That kind of narrative needs to change, and I hope to try to change that myself. If one, starting here in San Antonio,
So what is the Mauro Garza 5-point plan in your policy? Like, what are you going to do that differentiates you not only from the GOP field, but then when you go up against Castro, you get the nomination. You're going to run. You're going to. What is your 5-point plan?
Well, I have. There's two things about your question. One is what do I stand for, right? Mm-hmm. And the other part is how am I going to do that? Mm-hmm. The how am I going to do that? I've kind of been a little bit of because I've been saying how I'm going to do it, and then I hear the other candidates say how they're going to do it, and it sounds like what I said. But for me,
that's politics.
Yeah, that's politics. That's okay. Of course, security. I want all citizens to feel safe, and be protected from threats, whether they're domestic or foreign. I mean, that is very important. Mm-hmm. I want to support law enforcement to where they can serve our women, children, their communities, and borders. I want to be. I want to follow the U.S. Constitution, Abe. Mm-hmm. Now, I think ways to do that can be several ways. Right now we have something, that's been there a while, I think, but how can we use maybe artificial intelligence to help these servers, these protectors, first responders, things of that nature? We have to look into that. Other things would be fiscal responsibility. I will be the kind of person that's going to go over there and they're going to be, it's him again, but I really think we need to put something in place where it's like a balanced budget amendment. That's one dimension of my how, because the other one is more of a analytical plan on how to discuss with people and have these solutions for each of the problems we have. So I'm looking for a balanced budget amendment for sure. And I'm going to turn blue. I'm going to just out people. Come on, why can't we do this? What's wrong with you all? What's the deal?
Right.
So, and then, I said about the Constitution. That's a lot right there. That's about 8 to 10 points, So I can't, that's my goal to work on those. Those are like 3 bullets, but within those 3, there's about 12 issues,
Sure. Well, let me ask you honestly, because I asked this if I've had people come on the show. I've been on about 80 shows in, and yeah. I've been very fortunate to interview people running for office: Democrats, Republicans, Libs, Greens. Howie Hawkins has been on the show. I had I've had people come on, and I've been very, very fortunate. When the people that come on the show that are running for office, I asked them.
And thank you for having me.
Oh no, listen. It's called The Bitter Truth, not Big Wet Kiss. So thank you for coming on. Yes. But what I do honestly believe, and this is something I ask people that are running for office, even state assembly, they can't do anything about this question. But like, what do you think about this? When you said fiscal responsibility, how are you going to go after the great God defense? Because even Bernie Sanders has voted for the F-35, the biggest piece of crap in the history of ever. And he votes for it because Raytheon's in Vermont and he has jobs in Vermont, right? So it's like his fans hate when I say that, but it's the truth.
Yeah, no. Well, the way to do that is to gather you said something really, really powerful earlier, where you said how way advanced we are with our defense system compared to other countries. Okay, we have to look at that. We have to look at how far we are already with our defense capabilities compared to other countries.
Right.
And that will also help us to say, okay, we don't need to do 1.4 billion. We can go ahead and do the 400 million you were talking about earlier. That would be a way to look at that. And,
And I say this not to be incendiary, but I'll give you an example. So Russia spends $80 billion a year on their defense system, right? On their defense, period. They're the number 2 holder of nuclear warheads in the world behind us. So both of us, with not even 3% of our stockpile, can destroy the world. Each of us alone.
Right.
So we don't need any more. And the Russians have very few bases outside of Russia. Up until we started fucking about in Syria, they only had one base in Syria, right? A Navy base in Syria.
Yeah.
And then we started screwing around down there, and it's like, okay, well, that's their ally too, dipshit. So they're going to do something. We have this American exceptionalism, this entitlement that we get to do what we want, and we're shocked. It's like hegemony to me is like, I punch you in the face. I'm surprised that you didn't pay me for it, and even more shocked that you punched me back. And in the media, so like with the Chinese, they just upped their defense budget to $225 billion a year from $150, and they only have 2 bases outside of China. So where are these people spending their money? Well, I'll tell you what: the Chinese and the Russians have Medicare for all, right? With doctors practicing medicine, right? So why can't we spend money on our people at home? Why can't we get this D+ infrastructure fixed and spend that money here? This is what you're going to have to go against when you're talking about fiscal responsibility. Because anything.
Well, you're right, and I'll tell you what. When I get there in November, well, it's starting January. You and I are going to talk about this. We're going to talk about it because I sometimes say I'm a master budgeteer, and by looking at these costs and things of that nature, we should be able to reevaluate.
See, but we are talking about it now. Okay, and I'm not going to wait till January 21. We're talking about it now, and you're not running for state assembly. You're not running for state rep. You're right. You're not running for Senate. You're running for a congressional seat in the United States Senate or in the United States Congress. So you will have an effect. So you will be able to reach across the aisle and try to get bills crafted with Democrats that think like you, other Republicans that think like you, and
you better believe.
And so and to have fiscal responsibility without talking about defense, it's like doing Hamlet without Hamlet.
Right. So I've been attending this committee for a more responsible federal budget. Occasionally, I'll head over to Arlington and go to meetings and learn more, and all that is important. But yes, I will be able to do that. Now, that will take a lot of. It's going to be something I have to work with in my own party.
100%.
And then I'm going to say, okay, guys, how about if we now see what they feel like?
See, but this is the thing. This is the thing. Your party is the same as the Democrats on this. In fact, your party is the same as the Democrats on a lot of things. You guys have different opinions on gays and guns, and that's about it. Y'all take money from the same. Seriously, y'all take money from the same guys.
No, yeah.
They have us. It's a burlesque show. They have us arguing about guns and gays. Like in the Republicans.
Well, then if that's the case, Abe, that's going to make it a little bit easier for this message to get through.
Okay, how so?
Well, if we have the message about, okay, that's too much money going into the military, for example, let's put it in infrastructure. If you're saying that the Republicans and Democrats may feel that way as well, then you're gonna. Once I'm there, maybe I'd say, I'm not intending to be a career politician. I'm 56. I mean, I really, literally, want to put things in place that will make a difference, with the goals being, we have to plan 10 years ahead. I've always made my own personal goals 10 years ahead. So, I mean, none of this is going to happen overnight.
Mm-hmm.
These changes that we can all decide on, say we decide on, okay, this is how we want this to look like eventually, it's going to take time, and then you legislate towards that.
Mm-hmm.
You legislate towards that. Take your losses. Okay, this, it's going to hit the military. And you legislate towards that. Now,
Sure.
if I can reach across with that, think about this. You will be seeing the most productive Congress you've ever seen in the entire history of the United States.
Okay, I'm 56 too.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
You sound like you're 38.
And most people will tell you I behave like I'm in 10th grade, but I'm 56 too. So in my lifetime, I have not seen that. If you can get that done, I'll tell you what. But you're not going to get it done with incrementalism.
That's right.
And what has disappointed me about this new batch of Democrats that got elected last cycle, except for some of the obvious hypocrisies, is there were a couple of people that kind of came out, like AOC, who I had all this expectation of, and then she got co-opted.
Yeah.
She got co-opted. It's like so now, like with Israel, she's like, well, whatever the leadership says. Well, I'm sorry. You beat the incumbent in the primary because you're not supposed to be about what the leadership says. You beat the number 4 guy in the Democratic Party
That's right.
And then she just got co-opted. People still love her. I'm like, well, whatever. She's a good kid. I mean, she's 29 years old. She's a good kid. I'm not going to.
The difference about me, the only thing I'm going to care about, Abe, is to get some stuff done. I use the S word, but that's not a good word.
No, well, listen. Well, you can say anything you want on my show. It's okay. But my point to you is this, though. You don't do it incrementally. You do it with a bully pulpit. If you really believe the budget and finances are your thing, then you seize a mic and you get people. Because here's what happened with AOC for about 10 minutes. When she first got in there, and she was like holding little sit-down strikes in Nancy Pelosi's office. And I was like, oh, okay, she's onto something. That got attention, right? That got media attention. And then she had a mic. And then before you know it, they co-opted her. They got her on the cover of Rolling Stone, with Nancy Pelosi and Ilhan Omar. And you're kind of going, all right, she's done.
Yeah.
You're posing with Nancy Pelosi. The only way you get on goddamn Rolling Stone is if you made a deal with the godmother. You made a deal. It's like the mafia. There's no way you get on Rolling Stone with Nancy Pelosi unless you made a deal, right? And
right.
Ayanna Pressley was a total Clinton supporter, right? And she became part of the squad, whatever. She's a total corporate Democrat hack. Rashida Tlaib, my dad's Palestinian. Okay, so I grew up with this shit.
Yeah.
So long story short, she had no problem with Obama. I was proud of him being president. Really, you didn't care that he supported Israel bombing your fucking people? That's awesome. Good stuff. Right?
That's right.
He paid for Iron Dome. He paid for Iron Dome when W would not pay for Iron Dome. Right? And so these kinds of things, this kind of hypocrisy, which is why I gave you a little gas in the beginning of the show, because just recently Ellen had that fracas with Bush, whatever, because, she was being nice to him. He's a goddamn war criminal. And on top of that, he tried to pass DOMA. Now, I don't know if you're married or not. That's not my business. But how do you feel about a party that openly has a disdain for your lifestyle and you as a person?
Well, I'm a log cabin Republican, and so that's the LGBT that are Republican.
I know. Yeah.
We just, I think, look, this is not about my lifestyle, my personal lifestyle. So
wait a minute, though. But hang on, 1 second, though. It is when they want to make it illegal.
But I don't see that that happening. I mean, it was at one time, even in Texas, that stuff.
But just as recently as the Bush administration, they were trying to pass DOMA.
Yeah.
I mean, and you log cabin folks. I mean, you have people that are married in the log cabin Republicans. You're not just a bunch of single gay folks running around, are you? I mean, you believe in love and getting married and having a family and doing your thing. This is a party that was against that legally.
I believe that's a personal thing too, but I also believe that we need to separate the federal government from religion and separate state and church.
100%. And
but
that party doesn't want to do that. They still don't want to do that.
Well, I do.
Oh, well, okay. Then that should be part of your platform, man.
Yeah, separation of church, state and state.
Because you said earlier.
Out of my bedroom.
Yeah, you said earlier. Constitution, and we could argue back and forth about we can argue the back and forth about the Second Amendment all you want, which I can do. Yeah. But if you want to talk about separation of church and state, there's no wiggle room there.
No,
the government does not mandate a state religion. Period. End of list. Full stop. And if anybody wants to participate in politics that gets a tax exemption,
the hypocrisy you're talking about is that oath that a congressman will take, to defend the Constitution of the United States.
Right.
Gee.
Right. And if you took that, this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. If you want, we don't have time for incrementalism, man. Especially you and me, we're 56 years old. We only have so many weekends left. Fucking incrementalism. Incrementalism is you make slavery illegal in the 1860s, and a black guy can't vote until the 1960s, and we're still hanging him until the 1970s. That's incrementalism.
So let me leave you with this, Abe.
Oh, we got time. We got about 15 minutes.
Cool. I'm good. I'm enjoying talking to you. It's going to take somebody who has endurance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. First to win the primary, and then to win Castro. It's going to take an individual that's got two things to win this election and to get us in there. The first is it has to be a viable candidate. Second, you have to beat Castro. Those are two things. It's one thing to be a viable candidate. It's another thing to beat Castro. And that's what it's going to take. Now, in 2017, in January, I was able to run 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days. I have that endurance. I just need to get to the start line.
I got you.
And at 56, it's time.
Well, and I agree with you. This is when I'm talking about your platform. I'm talking about beating these people up. Is first of all, I mean, kudos.
The other thing, Abe. To be frank,
yeah.
Somebody said, you know why I like you. I said, well, why? Because you don't care. No, I don't care about getting money from this lobby or that lobby. I don't care. I'm not working for the lobbies. I'm working for the future.
Well, you're gonna
how we want this to look better.
Right. Well, I mean, and Castro's got a ton of money, and I don't know who your opponents are in the Republican primary, but obviously you're gonna need money. You're gonna have to get out there and get the grassroots thing going, and that's gonna come from a solid message. So when I beat you up a little bit on what's your platform, Jeremy Corbyn in Britain had a 20-point plan a couple of years back, 20 points. And everyone that won under his tutelage recited the same 20 points, right? I say get it down to 5. And when you say fiscal responsibility, that's a big term. That doesn't mean shit. You have to say, and I mean reducing defense.
I want people to pay less taxes. I need people to gain the trust. Like you showed me that right away. I need people to gain the trust of the government with our hard-earned tax dollars,
Right. Well, and here's the thing.
They're doing what you just said to me earlier, I mean, come on. So, and I pledge to fight that rampant misuse, of our money and reverse that trend of irresponsibility,
Well, here's the thing. I mean, when you say pay less tax, I think this is where it needs to go. And the GOP doesn't like to hear this, and the Democrats don't want to hear it either, but they pretend they like to hear it. You're going to have to raise taxes on corporations. This bullshit of Amazon and IBM paying 0% tax, and they're not even paying state tax right now. Most of these people, right? They're not even paying city tax. Amazon gets these sweetheart deals to come into Austin, Texas, and they're not paying state tax and not paying city tax, but they're going to create jobs. And okay, whatever. You're going to tax the worker, but you're not going to tax the corporation. That's bullshit. And
it is bullshit.
And this is no, don't be sorry. This is what I do. But this is the point: is you want to lower the tax burden on the working class and the middle class, and you want to raise it on the corporations. The challenge we have in this country is everyone thinks that one day I'll be rich too. One day I'll be Jeff Bezos. I don't want to be taxed. Well, guess what? One day you're not going to be Jeff Bezos. Got news for you. One day you're not. One day you're going to be probably a successful business owner who's getting his ass handed to him because you're making up for the taxes that Jeff Bezos doesn't pay in your community, that AT&T doesn't pay in your community, that GE doesn't pay in your community. Meanwhile, they're freezing pensions for 20,000 workers. I mean, that's not right.
That just turns the stomach.
Excuse me?
It turns the stomach.
It should. It should. If you have any compassion, if you have any compassion for other human beings, it should turn your stomach. And these are the things that when some of my friends, privately, my friends will say, "Geez, why are you so angry?" I'm like, "Why aren't you?" I went through this. Right. I went through this phase. I was an angry young man in my 20s and 30s. I played in bands and all that crap, right? And then I went through this phase in my late 30s, early 40s, because I'm in sales. That's like my day job. I'm like, well, I'm going to try to treat everything like I treat my career. I'm not so combative in a sales room. I'm trying to, and then I hit 50 and something changed. Had a lot of things happen when I turned 50. And I just kind of went, you know what? Fuck it. You're wrong. If your filter is fuck that guy, if your filter is you're cool with homeless people on the streets who aren't well, they're not lazy, they're not well. 40% of homeless people, you might want to know this for your campaign, 40% of homeless people have jobs. They work. They have jobs. But we don't know they're homeless because they got their head together enough to have a gym membership, take a shower, live in their car, or they share a Motel 6 with a couple of guys, right? That's 40% of homeless people. And you don't even know they're homeless. They work at McDonald's, they work at your hotel when you travel. You have no idea that they're even homeless because they're together enough, they're well. They just had a run of bad luck, bad marriage or whatever, something, they lost a gig, and all. Yeah. But then they have their faculties enough to get their shit together, keep it together to live another day. The people on the street, they're not well, and we turn them out to live on heating grates. Meanwhile, Jeff Bezos is worth $140 billion, and he didn't even have air conditioning in his fulfillment centers until about a year ago in the Sun Belt states and the more warmer states in the Midwest. And he had an ambulance outside because it was easier and cheaper to have them handle heat stroke issues than to actually pay $1 million for a nice air conditioning unit in a 100,000 square foot fucking warehouse. That's that's capitalism in this country right now. And it's been that way for at least 50 years. As soon as we stopped partnering with unions and we destroyed the church and we destroyed the press and we destroyed college, we have no opposition party in this country anymore. And so I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. If you're about the person, if you're about the people, it's like that's what it's got to be about, man.
Mm-hmm. So the partnering with unions, destroying the church, and you mentioned a couple of others.
Universities, the press, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That sort of turned capitalism into its ugly head, huh?
Yeah, that's when they owned everything. The press was the fourth estate. You got the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. And the press was always the fourth estate. We have a freedom of press in this country, constitutionally mandated. Because they were supposed to be the fourth estate, right? They were supposed to hold their feet to the fire, right? And now they're owned. Now they're wholly owned subsidiaries of Comcast or GE or whatever. Man, they own the media. You think Rachel Maddow or that fake tough guy Lawrence O'Donnell is going to give me a straight answer on anything when Raytheon and Pfizer pay their bills?
What was your take on university?
We've turned them into basic with the scam that's student loans. Because where I went to college, it was $100 a quarter where I went to school 30 years ago.
Oh, no kidding!
Yeah.
I think I may still be paying on my student loans.
Yeah, I went to a state school. I didn't go to fancy private school, but private school, but state school was free. My cousin went to UCLA for free in the 70s. He's older than us, right? But then when you make every unit cost $1 gazillion. I know for a fact UT up here was $300 a semester 30 years ago. Now it's $6,000 a semester. That kid's going to take what he has to take, and he's not going to take a lot of electives. He's not going to take humanities or philosophy or any of that kind of shit. He's going to take just basically his STEM courses, be an IT guy. We've turned them into glorified trade schools, and we're teaching nothing but how to do your thing. Oh, and by the way, you get this massive loan coming out of school that you're going to have to pay.
Yeah.
Right, and so we've taken the universities and destroyed them as far as any kind of think tank vibe. We're not challenging anything anymore. There's nothing there. Mm-hmm. The churches used to be, hey man, you guys got to look at it from this, like the human side of you. What would God do? What would Jesus do? No, fuck that. Jesus will take now. It's Jesus will take the money. That's what it is now. Mm. And that's where it's been. The death of the liberal class.
Holy Moses.
I'm just saying, man. This isn't a Republican or Democrat thing. I mean, maybe I'm a progressive, maybe I'm on the left, but it's always, for me, at least the last 10, 15 years has been about what are we doing for people? I pay taxes. I would like to see more bang for my buck. That's all. You're going to be a representative of this country in the Congress. I would love to just see more bang for my buck. My taxes don't have to go up. If we have Medicare for all and free college, my taxes aren't going up. Guess what? In private market health insurance, you got families paying $600-800 a month to a private company that may or may not honor their claim.
Yeah.
Or rescind their payments. I got a good friend of mine whose payments have been rescinded from March of 17 to November of last year to the tune of $325,000. Her and her husband are still fighting that. Rescinded. They were approved, paid. Oh, I'm sorry, we miscoded it. Sorry. So we're forcing people to buy a predatory product with no condition or controls, right?
Correct. What is your take on making that sort of, like your car insurance, like every 6 months you say, hey, get this here, and it's $600 less a year, because there's a lot of car insurances. Mm-hmm. What is your take on if healthcare insurances were that way?
If there's no law preventing them from denying claims, which they do on the regular, I don't really care what the payments are. Half of them don't honor what they're supposed to do. Do you know what I mean? So it's like that. This is my challenge with healthcare, because you got my brother's an MD. I got a brother who's an MD, and and he says he's as a physician with student loans. He honestly believes that Medicare for all should be available to anybody with a legal Social Security number in this country, right? Which is why you can't have open borders and let everybody in, because we want to make sure that our people get their shit. But his thing is, is Medicare. It's not the sexiest money, but it's consistent, because they never not pay and they never rescind payments. But 3 or 4 times a month, his clinic gets a letter from Aetna or Blue Cross or whoever, Kaiser in California, or whatever. It's like. And it says, hey, by the way, that $80,000 we paid for that guy's stint, well, we declare that experimental. You got to pay us the money back and go after Joe Blow to get the money. And half these guys will BK and not pay it.
I see.
So when people,
in those details of,
yeah. And so when people tell me, oh, well, it's business. No, there's business, and then there's the mafia. Extortion is extortion. You got to extort me for health insurance and then not pay when I need it. I mean, we have. You're going to run for office, ask these questions of people with their medical. Because right now, since Obamacare, we have 500,000 people a year still declaring bankruptcy because of medical reasons. We have 30,000 people a year dying from a lack of coverage, right? And 45 million uninsured. 45 million uninsured in this country, because Obamacare was a right-wing Heritage Foundation approved healthcare plan that Mitt Romney instituted in Massachusetts. And the only reason that Republicans hated it was because a black guy with a Muslim name was trying to get it through. It's the only reason. So as you're running for office, these are things. I'm the people. I'm one of the peoples. I mean, this is the kind of thing. So I get what you're saying about the nightmare socialist thing. Like, hey, let's take everybody's shit. I'm talking about monitoring, legislating business. You know what I mean? I don't want to take everybody's crap. Nobody wants to take everybody's crap. You
just crap.
You worked for it. I don't want to take your crap. I don't want my crap taken. You earned it. But we should all pay our fair share in taxes, and we are not. You and I pay more tax for guaranteed than
I know.
You know what I mean? So that's not right.
Yeah, I do.
So anyway, but well, listen, man. We got a couple minutes left. Parting shots. I have your website. I'm gonna link the website. Mauro Garza for Congress.com. What are you? When's your next event? What are you doing?
Well, we're actually getting the website you're going to link me to is great. It's going to be the same website. Right now, we're going to go we're tweaking that one because it's just not too easy to go through as far as the ability for people to donate. We always ask for that because this race is going to take a lot.
Yep.
A lot of money. I'm going to several events here in 20, trying to reach the people. We're hitting the streets and we're hitting homes. And November 4th, we're going to do that a lot more with more intensity and more duration, and we're going to do that through March. and get the messages out, the ones we talked about, and reach the people, because it's the only way for them to see that we're there and they have an option, and they should pick this option.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, listen, appreciate the time. Appreciate you coming on. I know it's a Sunday afternoon when we're recording this, so I appreciate you coming on. Folks, my guest has been Mauro Garza. He's running for Congress as a log cabin Republican in the GOP. He's going to be running against Joaquin Castro should he get the nomination in District 20. You can visit his website, as we talked about. And as always, you can visit patreon.com/thebittertruth, and you can become a bitter pill or a spoonful of sugar and make your life better. And as always, guys, if this stuff makes you uncomfortable, it's supposed to. Sleep tight.